since I already set it up. Hey everyone, welcome to Roundtable, the show that might or might not happen.
Hey Tala, can you open up the dog kennel? No reason for them to be locked up.
So yeah, that RAM that Moss found for the server did in fact work. Should have just had him do it to begin with.
Makes sense to me. Start the stream?
Yeah. Well, it's not like Moss to just not show up without saying anything.
He might not have woke up.
That's what I was kind of thinking. Settings. The only thing he responds to is signal.
I did finish the first iteration of those Bluetooth headsets. It's nothing pretty, but it's a simple version, and now I gotta go on to designing stuff in Tinkercad. So I'll have to get out my caliper and Tinkercad and get to figuring out how I want to do it.
So that's what you use to make stuff with the 3D printer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For my own designs, yeah. Wish I was good enough to use something better than Tinkercad, but Tinkercad is simple enough that, you know, I can make simple things with it.
I haven't even looked at it.
I'll have to check and see if, like, Phoebe has a video out there on Blender. You have no idea who Phoebe is.
Huh.
Oh, he was formerly one of the hosts that was regularly on the Linux Lugcast,
Oh.
but he's also a developer for Blender. But he basically sold his house, sold most of what he owns, put the rest in storage, bought an RV, and him and his family, including his kids, now travel while he works.
Wow. Just like, kind of like Chris Fisher.
Yeah.
I just love Moss's complete lack of patience with people. No, getting ready for a concert. Mentioned that on Sunday. If you ever ask him a question that he's already answered in the past.
Mm.
So now I take to messing with him.
You didn't mention that. You said you'd be able to get ready and be on the show.
Maybe I should leave him alone because he's saying his anxiety levels are pretty high.
Well, I don't see why Norbert can't join. We can get Londoner on here.
Norbert
How
said
about Leo?
Norbert said he's not going to be here.
I know, but why?
You ask him why, he just ghosts you.
You don't like us no more.
I think he just gets embarrassed about being behind on shows and doesn't want to. I think that's the whole reason he's not on. That's why he wasn't on last Saturday, or I think the Saturday before. Whereas if he would just say, you know what, I can't do it, that'd be fine. We just have to figure it out. Well, folks, we are sitting here. If you're watching the live stream, we are in... I don't see anybody on.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of people on.
No, I mean...
Not on...
Watching the YouTube. There's no concurrent viewers.
Well, I'm trying to get people... Like
maybe Leo or...
Yeah, well, basically anybody. Get Rob on here, get Rod on here. Russ from, Linux in the Ham Shack. Get him on here. Hey, Helium, how's it going?
No microphone.
I tried to set up an interview with Russ, and he was all for it, and then other things started happening, and we never came back around to it, because I'd love to talk about Linux and ham.
I've got a couple people couple people I know that are kind of half interested in that, and they ask me questions, and I really don't know. I've never been in that world. I know that there's people that are interested in it.
Well, Linux in the Ham Shack was one of my favorite shows for a while. If I remember right, because the voices are very similar to the people on Sunday Morning Linux Review, and like beer reviews and whiskey reviews.
Helium just said his Mint crashed a few minutes ago, so...
Okay.
I hate it when my Mint crashes.
Do you have a mic, Helium?
I don't know if he's on or not, if this is just a... He's typing. Now, who is Helium? Is he from the past crew, or is he... Do you know?
No, I see him as online, but no, probably just somebody that we invited.
Yeah, because
You should ask him. If his mic worked, we could do an interview with him real quick.
That would be cool.
Right?
Just usual Linux users. Tell us what you use it for, I don't think there's anything uninteresting about that. What's your origin story? Oh, Nishant.
Right? Hey, Nishant, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Not bad. Haven't heard from you in a while. We were just talking about you. Allsy,
Hey,
how's it going, man?
All good, mate. All good.
Excellent. Now it's.
When are you going to start? When are you going to start joining the regular show?
I never got invited.
Well, consider this an invite. Considering everybody has been invited. Like, we invited the entire planet at one point to see if we could get more hosts. But if you want on the regular show, we will make you a regular.
Sounds cool.
We actually need another host, I think.
Yeah, we need ideas too.
Because we lost Josh Thacker, basically.
And Nishant, we lost Nishant. We don't know where he
we lost
went.
Nishant.
He ran
You
away.
haven't lost me. I didn't run away either. Life caught up.
I'm sorry. Could you hear that? I couldn't hear anything there.
I heard something.
Life caught up.
Life
I
caught
didn't
up.
run away.
Life does that, and then you pod fade. And we have to look for new hosts. And Alzie's awesome.
Helium.
But I can come back, right?
Yeah, you can
If
come
I
back.
want.
But we're not uninviting anyone.
There's so many people that are still showing up under mintCast crew. You know, people I've never even met, and I don't even remember hearing. Of course,
Heck, if Rob wanted to come back tomorrow, I would not stop him.
No, he was one of the originals, right?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
He wasn't like on the first podcast or anything, but he's yeah. I don't think I'm gonna hit his numbers anytime soon.
If Leo came back, would you have him back?
Yeah,
He was awesome.
yeah. I could see our listening numbers going way up if Leo came back.
He still is awesome on LUS. Linux user space.
Leo left not to take anything from everybody else on the show, but when Leo left, it blew a giant hole in the middle of the show. And I think everybody agrees with me there.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
Helium, whose mic is too loud?
I wasn't catching anything overly loud.
I don't know if he was.
But was it me?
He might have been talking.
Could be
about
me.
Nishant. He's typing. I guess I could bring mine down.
Could move mine further away. That might help. Oh, what else should I eat today?
Let's see. I went to a town fair a little while ago, and I had steak tips, ice cream, fried apple pears or fried apple petals, and some pork barbecue. And I'm gonna take a nap when we get done.
I took a nap right before.
It'd probably be the last thing we get out and do in the warm weather this year.
I had a burrito today. And a Cliff Bar.
I like those Cliff Bars. What kind?
The peanut butter crunch.
Yep, those are the best. They give me mad gas when I eat too many of them, but...
Yeah, they're all fiber and protein.
So, I mean, sometimes you gotta take the fleas with the dog, you know what I mean? So
Hey, did you see this email from Highlander directed basically at you?
No. Should I be afraid? Let's go see. Well, it didn't get sent to my box.
September 19th. It got sent to the regular mintCast box. mintCast at mintCast.
Okay, let's take a look here.
Which is why I see it, because that automatically gets forwarded to me.
I've got the mintCast set up on my phone, the mintCast email. Let's see. You said the 19th?
Mm-hmm.
I got a whole bunch of Linode. Okay, Highlander.
Those get annoying.
Well, every time I get on there and run I guess I could change that, but every time I get on and I run an update or I do something on there, it sends an email.
Evidently my kids have been messaging me all day. That's weird.
Hello,
Or
Bill
no, that
and
was
Larry.
yesterday.
Who's Larry?
Oh, he also emailed another podcast.
Oh, Fluffy Chat is installed. Mint and Fedora have it installed natively through the terminal. Kali and Windows have it through a third-party container program called Web Catalog. Windows has an exe install file, and after Web Catalog is running, you can still install Fluffy Chat inside Web Catalog. In Kali, download the Web Catalog Linux app in image, and for OS stability reasons, let it run as a program inside your standard user account, not administrator user account. Question: does Web Catalog count as a third-party middleman? It might. Until I have that question answered, I will have a preference for running Fluffy inside either Mint or Fedora. Well, I think anytime you install something that is not in the default repo of any distribution, you're kind of going a bit third party. I suppose that's arguable, but at the same time, these things are just kind of ran to work on or built to work on Linux generically, you know. So if you're, I don't see how it would be more safe on any one distro than the other. I don't know. Maybe somebody else knows better than I would. But I just don't know of any distro that like builds extra.
Well, he's talking about Web Catalog.
Well, I mean, what's Web Catalog doing though? It's
basically just taking a website and turning it into an application.
Right.
We have an application that does that. That's built into Mint.
That web, the Mint, I think it's
Web apps.
Web App Manager, I think is what the GitHub project name is.
I'm going to about. It's just called Web Apps.
Just Web Apps? Okay. So that is simple and brilliant and will basically make a web app out of any browser you've got installed.
And then you go to the GitHub and it is Web App Manager.
Yeah. Because I think when I installed it on Arch through the AUR, that was what I had to install it as. But it was the exact same app.
We lost Halsey.
Oh.
All of the awesome left.
Couple of things on Helium showed his what is that, a KDE desktop right there, or I can't really tell. No, it's just a well customized Cinnamon desktop.
Cinnamon, yeah.
Yeah.
Desktop environment is Cinnamon. Theme Adaptanocto?
Yeah. I've got Adapta and Adaptanocto, which just means dark, on Arch.
I basically run a lot of stock.
I don't have anything overly customized on this machine, but on like the laptops and that, I've got them set up a little differently. Some themes just work better on different size screens than others do, you know. Some elements just kind of tend to overlap a little more on some resolutions than they do on others. I think what there's room for, I mean, to go further with Highlander's question, what there's room for is, and I'm sure this exists, and I think I've heard of people saying it, but it's just not enough of it, is just easy methods to completely silo off a web app in a way, you know, I'm sure if you make a web app out of Chrome or something like that, it's kind of sandboxed in the Chrome kind of way. But if there was an easy way to completely containerize a GUI application that you make with like web apps or something, or web catalog, that would be kind of a cool project, I think.
Sorry, my internet cut out. What's the topic?
Oh, we were talking about web apps and basically containerization of web apps.
We had an email into the show where this guy has discovered web catalog, and his first question was, does that count as a third-party middleman? And basically, he's wanting to know if running applications like that is any safer on one distribution than another. And really, I don't see how it would be, because you're just basically running an application within the infrastructure of the browser.
Ubuntu Snappy Core, that's what I was thinking of, where everything was basically containerized.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then leaving the snaps aside, because that's got the separate additional layer of app armor going on too. That's providing that extra layer of security that apparently only really works well on Ubuntu, because it's in their tree. I'm slowly coming back around to snaps on the server. I kind of went through a period there where I didn't trust them. Thanks to people like Popey and that, writing a little script to completely grenade them from your system.
Well, see, and I don't know if they didn't trust snaps or if it was just the fact that Ubuntu was not giving you an option. They were just, making that stuff the standard. And so there was pushback against that.
And to be fair, I mean, Ubuntu, I suppose, canonical, has to look out for their commercial imperatives above anything else when it comes to making low-level decisions like that. They've got to take into consideration, okay, our commercial customers need something in place that is usable with the least amount of friction. And it's kind of hard to market your operating system if you're relying so heavily on community-oriented projects. I guess. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with that, but I'm saying that's probably what
everybody's been looking for a universal package management system for a long time now. It's just, unlikely to happen. What do you think, Alzi?
I think we lost Nishant, or...
I'm good.
Oh, no. No, that was Helium, said he's going to sleep now. Yeah, universal packages, gee whiz.
Seems unlikely to ever happen.
I mean, it has happened. It's not happening in a way that
is universally accepted.
No, I mean, they're solving the biggest problem in our world, which is the constantly changing and shifting tool chains and dependencies and everything like that. Well, now if you absolutely have to have an application based on some deprecated tool chain or some deprecated version of a library, then you can still have your cake and eat it too. The problem there is people, whether, I don't know if they're right or not, or if there's room for nuance, but the idea that is possible just allows for lazy development now. Well, you don't have to worry about keeping your packages up to date, because now you can just containerize it with an outdated library and it'll still work. I can see both sides of the argument, but that's because I'm not a developer. I don't know the nuances and how possible or impossible it might be to just up and update your tool chain every time your base distribution. And that's another thing. You're trying to package this thing for so many different distributions that have little differences in the way they package things. So I can see how the universal packages, they solve the problem of dependencies and tool chains, but at the same time I see the argument against it as well.
Yeah.
I don't mind them though. I mean, we're living in a time now where you go to the store, you buy a computer, and even a cheap computer has got enough power to bulldoze its way through crappy code, so to speak. Um, so the idea that you're basically packaging up a whole lot of extra bits in order to make this happen isn't quite as detrimental as it once was.
Right. When it comes to things like snaps, flat
Yeah.
packs, that extra overhead, extra hard drive space, it's not that big a deal anymore.
No, not really.
Hard drive space is cheap now.
Yeah, my first computer I bought, and for my age, I came in relatively late, but the first one I actually owned had an 80 gigabyte hard drive in it, and that was considered relatively high end at the time. But, people weren't saving videos, and
I remember how excited I was to get I think it was a 20 gig hard drive way back in high school.
now I do remember when first started hearing the concept of a hard drive in a computer, where you no longer had to program the machine for every single application you were going to run, because you had a hard drive and you could put an operating system on it.
No, my first computer was a 486 DX266, but my dad sold it. Well, he had a Commodore, not the Commodore 64, but like a Commodore like business model or something that I used to run Sim Tower on.
I'm trying to think.
It ran DOS.
I found a picture of it, but I think it was a Gateway 800 was the first one I had, and it would be a respectable sized tower even by today's standards, and relatively modern looking. Yeah, here's one. Let me share it real quick. Well, it ain't gonna be real good. This thing right here. If you can see it, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, and that was back in 2002. So that was in a time when most everybody had like a beige box. I thought it was kind of a cool thing, and you could probably it was big enough. You could probably put a regular sized motherboard, modern one in it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm not sure how good the airflow would have been though for a modern system.
I still got my Atari 600. It's just very thoroughly broken.
I've got a 2600 upstairs in the attic it's been gutted for years, and I was thinking about putting a Pi in it and just running RetroPie, but I wanted to do it in a way to where I wouldn't have to make too many holes in it.
Casing on mine is completely broken.
You can buy pie boxes that look like
Whatever.
yeah.
I have one that looks like a NES. That's what my Pi 4 sits in.
I've got these. The only ones I use mostly are just the flirt cases. They seem to have the best thermal handling.
I've been working on trying to get my garage a little bit cleaner and better set up, but doing that along with, the entropy that naturally occurs in a garage has been difficult.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, you get a space cleared out, and then, somebody in the household sees, oh, look, there's space in the garage. I can store more crap out there. I'll put it right where you just cleaned up.
I noticed the garages that stay clean are the ones that have there's almost no storage at all. They're the ones that's got like furniture set up in them, and everybody kind of
That's the way mine was, and then it's like, okay, well, we need some space in the house for such and such, and then it just built up.
Yeah. I was kind of wanting to work my basement into. Well, I've got room down here for maybe a couple bedrooms, and then when I needed to set this space up, then it kind of closed in because I've also got my little workshop space over there too for working.
I'd love to get a place with like a full basement and a full attic.
I got the attic in this place is, I don't know. You can walk around in there for the most part because it's like not above the living space. It's kind of beside it because there's like a 70-degree pitch on both sides, and then there's two dormers. But on the opposite side of the dormers is where like the attic space is kind of, just basically a void to the south of the living space. So you can walk right up against the wall, and then you kind of have to duck the closer to the easement you get.
Yeah, first I got to handle my garage, and then I got to handle my small attic that's above the garage. And once I get both of those cleaned out, I should have some extra room to get things done. But I find it much more likely that I'll move before that gets accomplished. And then the next time I move, hopefully I'll just get a storage area, and then I'll promise myself each month that, we'll slowly clean out the storage area, and when I'm done paying for it, in 10 years or so, tired of paying monthly for it, then we'll probably just throw everything away.
I've got a lot of things I need to throw away that came from the old house, and
Got to go through. That's the whole thing, is going through it. That never really happens.
it feels like a weight on your soul, though. You've got this stuff that you've been hanging on to all these years and taking up space.
Yeah. Well, I'm supposed to be helping Jackie with her closet later, but I'm hoping to get a couple of my the shelves that I have out in the garage at least cleaned up. But this won't be the first time that that's happened. You get the shelf cleaned up, and then magically more stuff appears on it.
You can never leave. You got to sit there with
You got to stare at it the whole time too, because if you blink, you turn your head.
somebody threw a box of something up there.
Right. Yes, that's a cat. Here, they've seen the cat before. He's big, fluffy, and
Oh,
orange.
look at him, Fluffy.
No, you're not going anywhere for a minute. Yep, them's my kisses. I like kisses. You smell like tuna fish, though. Somebody been feeding you tuna fish? You were feeding him tuna fish, weren't you? No, you liar.
I was just getting
Liar.
ready to say you better go check the fish tank if you got one of them.
Nope.
Better
You
make
smell like tuna, too. You were feeding him tuna.
Got to try to make sure this email gets into the show next week, so that we can
Yeah.
address
You need to
this.
set up the forwarding so it goes to your stuff too.
It
So I'm
looks
not
like
the only
it's.
one able.
Oh, it does. It's not forwarded to mine. It's forwarded to Leo, Bo, Josh, Moss, Tony Watts, and Tony Hughes.
Pull one of those out of there because none of them give a crap anymore.
I'll pull Tony Watts because I don't know who that is. Bo and Josh. Does Bo need these emails?
Probably not. Bo's still around. Tony's still around, but
So I'll leave
they probably don't
Leo,
need the emails.
Moss, and it's not going to your personal box though.
It should be. I got it. That's why I checked it. jb@mintcast.org.
Okay, well it's just showing Leo, Moss, and Tony Hughes.
It ends up in mine.
Okay, so how do I set that up here? There's the gear. See,
And then we'll have Alzi send us an email to make sure it's working.
forwarding and pop.
Right, Alzi?
Forward a copy of incoming mail to JB@mintcast. The only one on this list is you.
Well, that's the one that works.
Well, we need to
It forwards
add.
me a copy.
Let's go with Bill at next. Oh, I gotta respond to a forwarding code.
Or I do. Phone did just buzz. Let me check.
Click on the link below. The one thing we tell our listeners not to do. Click on links and emails. Google wants us to do it. I don't know what to do about all this, but it's become too normal.
Hey, Alzi.
You
I got a question for you.
can go for it.
Do you watch a lot of YouTube?
Unfortunately, yes.
What do you watch on YouTube?
At the moment, let's just go to my history / watch later. I've got a lot of Docker stuff, Raspberry Pi stuff, powerlifting.
Powerlifting?
Yeah.
What are you watching powerlifting? Elite FTS?
IPF. I like watching the IPF stuff because I do some lifting.
Finally, I'll have somebody to talk weights to when you join the show.
Josh on
Bill's in there. He can set you up an email right now, and you can be on next Sunday. We'll get you in the show notes.
I'll check my schedule, but that sounds good.
Halsey@mintcast.org.
I don't know if that worked or not. I added it.
All right. Halsey is going to send us an email. mintcast@mintcast.org. Oh, well, I've finally been able to get a halfway decent chest workout. Still pretty light compared to what I'm used to, but with my shoulder being all messed up, I took it light. But nice balance between getting some barbell bench press in and some banded chest workout. Just trying to get back in the groove of it and not damage my shoulder any further. And I still can't do hammer curls. So I'll do some regular curls tomorrow, and even that'll have to be light-ish.
I've sent a test email.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't have anything yet.
Checking.
See if Google comes back with a bounce back or anything.
Oliver Kelly.
Oliver. Yep, I got it too. So now you're getting emails that come into mintCast.
As soon as I get it set up, you'll have to respond.
Oh, you don't have the forwarding set yet? I thought you
Well,
did.
it sends a message to the person that they have to respond to. Foolishhim@gmail. Maybe.
No, I'm saying, Bill, you should be getting the email into your personal account now if you set up the forwarding.
Yeah, I set it up, but it ain't working.
It worked for me. I got it.
For crying out loud. Add a forwarding address, Bill. You already have the forwarding address, bill@mintcast.org. Okay. Well, I'm not getting the emails. I don't know. We'll work on this more. Yeah, because I didn't get the email from him, or unless it's going into my spam filter. Categories. Updates.
I haven't checked my spam in a while.
Oh, I got nothing in my spam box. My personal.
Online advertising. United States Department of the Treasury. Social media promotions. Oh, Cherry Hill Tony got marked as spam.
Oh, Google. I've just about had enough of Google. I got to tell you.
Do you really want to run your own email?
No, that's not what I meant. No, and what most of the reason you don't want to do it is because of Gmail and their Gmailification.
And their propensity to treat anybody that runs their own email server as spam.
Yeah.
And I know you don't want a Yahoo account.
I've got one. I've had one for 20 some odd years.
So have I, and I never log into it. Never. It's my spam collector.
It's an email address I give when I absolutely don't want this person to send me anything, because
That you'll ever read.
Yeah, because it's not associated with it. Because I've also got an old Hotmail account for all things Microsoft. Anytime I set up anything Windows.
I did have a Hotmail account. I don't know what happened to it.
I've got a legacy Hotmail account, which allows me to sign into Outlook Express with it.
I had to delete my MySpace account a couple of years ago. Like,
my.
absolutely just wreck it. I had to log into it. I had to find the password and delete it.
MySpace. I remember kind of thinking MySpace was sort of cool because you could add a little HTML code to it, and it would customize the background. You had this whole community around that, and I'd play around with that quite a bit. But that didn't age well, I guess. I remember seeing something on History Channel at the time, towards the end of the. It was about the time that Facebook started to overlap that space, and they were talking about which one was going to prevail, and they were all predicting that it was going to be Facebook. And I remember thinking, why? It ain't that cool, you know? You could do all this theming and everything with MySpace.
Yeah, but it convinced a lot of average people to learn HTML,
Yeah.
but it also got super annoying whenever you went anywhere and more music popped up.
Yep. That's about all it's worth now, or used for anyway now, isn't it? Just promotion of music.
I have no idea. Too much social media.
It is. Unfortunately.
I mean, even without MySpace, it's still Facebook, Twitter. What else is there?
God, I can go with Twitter.
Mastodon.
I don't have any of those, unfortunately.
Discord, Telegram, WhatsApp.
It's unfortunate with me because I do all this plugging away with open source software, but yet because I'm forced to use all of these closed source terrible commercial options, I don't even look at the open source stuff. That's a weird kind of place to be.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to my other show, Three Fat Truckers is forever going to be Facebook. That is where any social interaction totally exists, is on Facebook, because
you got a bunch of old guys.
Well, you've got people that never learned how to type, that can work out how to send like a 3 or 4 word message. You know, they can barely just make calls or answer text messages with their device. You know, I'm not calling them fuck-witted or anything like that, but
everybody has different areas of expertise.
Exactly. That's the way I like to describe it. And you know, they don't necessarily happen to be technically inclined. They can kind of work out how to go find a YouTube video or something like that, or they're the ones that are more likely to go down the rabbit hole of you know, one YouTube video kind of flowing into another one. You know, I guess we're all kind of susceptible to that, but it's always going to be Facebook or anything the phone already comes with for people like that. And so that's just something I've had to kind of learn to deal with. And it ain't bad. I mean, it would be real tough to replace what Facebook has done, the positive things that have come from Facebook. Because,
well,
I mean,
you
know,
just
right
said
or
the
wrong,
same.
there are.
You would have said the same thing about MySpace before everybody transitioned to Facebook.
I'm trying to think. It's been long enough now to where I don't remember what it was Facebook was offering that was better, other than the ability to. I don't remember
not have
Facebook
thrown in your face.
Well, I mean, with Facebook, you've got this ability to silo off people into different categories that you really didn't have with MySpace, that I remember. That was more of a just, you had one huge friends list, basically, and then you might have certain topics that people would talk about. And it might not be fair to judge it based on that, too, because I think Facebook just kind of evolved into this.
Yeah, I was one of those people that transitioned kind of late away from MySpace into Facebook. But in the end, I did it because that's where everybody else had moved to, and the people that I wanted to talk to were already all there.
Yeah, in my case, I think what kind of drove it home was Facebook was where I was fortunate enough. I say fortunate. I was fortunate enough to be part of Facebook in 2004 when they were brand new and you had to be in college and get an invite to be on it. Back when it was called the Facebook, because that was when I was in school at the time, and it was a very different thing. It felt more grassroots in those days. It felt like an amazing piece of forward-looking technology because it was bringing people together that I mean, I reunited within the first year. I had reunited with all of my army buddies and people I hadn't talked to in
That
30 years, you know.
it is really nice being able to keep up with all my friends from 243.
And I don't think any other platform has ever been able to capture that kind of magic. You know, I think what's happening now, though, is all that magic, you know, has happened in the past. And now it's like, okay, now that the silly little things they're coming up with it just feels like they're really grabbing. You know.
Facebook is basically throwing so much politics, and it's not Facebook itself. I'm sure it's like people and companies that are just throwing so much politics at you ever since 2016.
Yeah.
And that's basically all it got to be for the longest time, and there's no real way to block that out. It just keeps coming. And then the most vocal people on there, I guess with any real, platform, is the people that you really don't want to listen to because they're a bunch of a-holes.
I it's kind of like, the way a person needs, well, you kind of have to adjust your expectation, right? You have this expectation that because you're on a device, you're sitting in your living room, that you ought to be able to enjoy the same kind of privacy and safety and relative comfort that you have in your home. And you're in a different world when you get on these social platforms, and you're gonna come in contact with people that are trying to game the system and trying to spread their crap. The good news
Yeah.
is, if you learn how to use the software, use the platform, you can block a lot of these people, or at least learn what to read, what energy you allow into your life, and how to just accept the fact that people are always going to be on there that are going to say things that are just. I have to hear it all the time because of my line of work, as you can imagine. It's
Yeah.
inundated with your extremely right wing, extremely narrow minded. But that's been their reality, that's been the world that they had come to be comfortable with. That's
Oh, did you ever get a chance to listen to Kevin in a Big Rig?
not yet. When I go back to work next week, I'm going to do it because I'm supposed to have a relatively easy week next week. It's been kind of hectic, and frankly, I forgot about it. I'm going to write myself a note right here. Make sure I remember.
I think you'll find it funny.
Kevin in a Big Rig?
Yeah. I
Okay,
had
yeah,
it
you
to
sent me that on Discord, didn't you?
Yeah, in that chat with you and Moss.
Yeah. Got to scroll up to all this. We get it, you vape. Who the heck is all this? Oh, Joe. That's quite a bit of scrolling I got to do to find it.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Ah, there it is. I'm going to do a quick little bump to bring it to the bottom. I think that'll work. Yeah, kind of. There you go. That way I
gives
don't
you
have
something to click on to get back to it, yeah.
Yeah. All your silly little memes to try to hurry us along.
Oh no, every time we say thanks, Clem, that's what I see. Thanks, the thanks, Dad from Married with Children.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
Oh man. I'm gonna get one of those wrap it up signs too. Put it back here behind me. Or figure out a way to put it on the screen. Superimpose it on the screen.
So everybody can ignore that too. I mean, you give the wrap it up, and then 5 minutes later, you're still going like this.
I am quite convinced that Norbert is not paying any attention to that when we start doing that. Poor Norbert. Well, all right. I'm gonna get off of here, kids.
Yeah, not a whole lot going on today, so
So we can count on next week's topic being all of the places
the
where,
niche stuff for.
yeah, the places where Linux tends to shine out above all.
And I was going to do supercomputers and cluster computing since they're interrelated. Which should at least be somewhat interesting, if not excessively long.
Yeah. Okay.
I can extend that out to like 5 to 8 minutes if I need to, because I love talking about the PlayStation cluster that the Navy made, the Navy or the Air Force, I don't remember.
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
Well, they made a supercomputer, and they made it out of PlayStations, and they clustered them together. I think it was PlayStation. It was either PlayStation 2s or PlayStation 3s.
And that's why we can't buy them.
Yeah.
The Navy's got them all in a warehouse somewhere linked together.
And then when they decommissioned that supercomputer, I guarantee that there's a whole lot of soldiers that went home with PlayStation.
Burned up PlayStations, probably. Yeah, that would be interesting. What a crazy thing to make computers out of like that.
And were you going to do mini PCs?
I was going to do servers.
Okay.
And I could do a little bit about the SBC
And we should.
thing.
Well, when you're talking about servers, you know that's a pretty broad topic. So. 'Cause
Well,
you can have servers the size of a mini PC, or honestly, we should have just like an entire discussion on scalability.
I was going to make the point that it just and you'd be surprised how many people either don't know or they take for granted how much
The servers aren't just hardware.
Yeah,
servers
I mean,
aren't
it's
hardware. Servers are software.
They're almost all Linux. They're actually almost completely Linux. What
Yeah,
I don't
Windows servers basically dead.
I don't know anybody that even knows how to run one anymore. So no, I take that back. I guess I do know them, but I haven't.
Yeah, I know guys that run them, or that can run them, but haven't run them in a decade.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not. It's not the serious go-to method of setting up a server for anything. So I was going to bring that up, and then maybe the whole SBC thing, because that's another thing. If you're going to set up use an SBC for anything, I suppose there's Windows out there, but again, it's kind of crap.
They made the Windows IoT version, but nobody used it.
I've never even tried it. I don't even know where to get it. I mean, I've heard some people talk about it sort of anecdotally, but yeah, nobody really uses it, and I don't even know if you can get software on it. You know, so anyway, yeah, I think we'll be good to go. Hope Moss is having a good time at his concert. He seemed to be.
Well, he knows the topic, and it's not like he hasn't had plenty of time to do some research on it. But
yeah.
Remind him after his concert. Don't mention it before his concert. Mention it after his concert. Is it today that his concert is, or is
That's
his
what he
concert
said.
tomorrow? Okay. So then tomorrow we'll remind him what the topic is for next week.
Right.
And make sure he's cool with it. figure out what he wants to talk about for his portion.
Right on.
And then, Nishant, are you going to be on next week?
He is AF.
I see.
Alzi, do you want to be on next week?
I'll check my calendar and I'll ping you a message in the Telegram.
Okay, you'll probably need to coordinate with Bill because I've been mostly unavailable during weekdays.
If you ping me on Discord, I will answer. I've got notifications set up on that, so. And
Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed that I've been so disconnected from most of my podcasts lately. I need to start getting more involved again. But I also need time, free time.
what's that?
I don't know.
I have to take time
Here,
from
so-
other things. All right, kids, I'm out of here. Everybody have a good one. We'll see you next week. Until then, have a good one, kids.
Oh, for now.
Bye-bye.